Welcome to the H2o Subterranean Violence Lucky Number 7 review here with me and Ultimate Gallows.
Whoa, hold on there. I know I sent you the right copy, man. You got to do that right. Ultimo Gallows, the new Hood Marc Lucha Libre Central American World Heavyweight Champion.
Well, you did it for me. There you go.
Well, remember it for next time, sir. I don't pay you for nothing.
There you go. I'll remember it for next time. I promise you. And I want to jump. I want to jump into this real quick before we do get started on this because we've got a big review coming up here. It's H2o Subterranean Violence. Got my tongue tied there. Lucky number 7.
Try spelling that, man.
Let me ask you this, though. All right, I had to ask you about this because I did not know what H2o was. And by the way, welcome to the YouTube channel here on King of Wrestling Podcast. Yes, we're going to be uploading reviews from events on IWTV. And
that's right, the best $6 in the business. Screw WWE, you get IWE TV.
That's right.
TV.
$9.99 a month, and hopefully we're going to get them on board as a sponsor soon. But you can also, if you're just watching this on YouTube, you can check out our podcast, King of Wrestling Podcast. It's on every Tuesday, and this Tuesday we got Barrett Brown, and Around the Indies is on Fridays. What's that?
King of Texas. I said the King of Texas. Hell yeah.
That's right, Barrett Brown. But before we get into this, tell the listeners and me, who's never heard of H2o, I know Matt Tremont is the runner of this, but go ahead and give us a rundown.
Oh, okay. H2o, that stands for Hardcore Hustle Organization, and they're a deathmatch group, but they do a little bit of comedy too. Like you said, Matt Tremont's been running, but running for quite a while now. He's talking about, matter of fact, you saw this. He's talking about retiring very soon. You don't know how many matches he got left. And this is kind of his way of giving back. He runs wrestling school, and I hear a lot of good stuff about their shows. This is the first full H2o show I saw, and I was fairly impressed. I mean, it was not bad at all.
No, I have to agree. This is the first one I've ever seen, and it was just on IWTV the other night. So we decided we was going to chuck it down and just have a good weekend of deathmatch wrestling, pretty much with H2o and No Holds Barred.
Yeah, ICW No Holds Barred, Volume 3, Deathmatch Drive-In, which was, that was a show.
Yes, it was. Well, let's jump right in. We had our first match of the night, and this was a fatal four-way with Jimmy Lyons versus Marc Angel versus Sean Anderson versus Chuck Payne. Now,
yeah, the inside the park home run derby match. Yep.
This match did not last very long, but give us the rundown of what your thoughts are, and I'll give mine then.
Going into it, the only people I'd ever heard of or even seen was Jimmy Lyon and Sean Henderson, and it was your typical four-way match to open up an indie show. It wasn't bad. It was a good way to kind of get people who don't know these wrestlers a little introduction to them, but it went by a little quick. I would have either added 5-6 minutes to the match or just completely cut it.
I agree, because I mean, it was like it was on and then it was off. Now the big thing about it was this Chuck Payne was he's pretty rough now.
Oh yeah,
but
he was off, man. He was off.
But I'll say this, there was light bulbs involved. There was all kinds of stuff involved in this. And the finish was actually a suplex through barbed wire and glass. Was that right?
Yeah, that was rough looking too, man. Whew.
I mean, it was all tangled up in that barbed wire.
Yeah. Well, have you ever been calling barbed wire, Brandon? I'm figuring you probably have. You grew up in the South like I did.
Actually, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. Before I do, Chuck Payne did pick up the win over Jimmy Lyons, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right, I think it was Jimmy Lyon, yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and tell you my experiences with barbed wire. So when I was about 15 or 16, we used to have paintball wars, shoot each other.
Yeah.
Well, we took our shirts off. We didn't have nothing on, masks, being idiots, and it was dark. There was no light. It was like we was in the middle of the woods just having a paintball war. But and I kept shooting people and stuff like this. Well, I came across my cousin, and I popped him in the back of the neck with one. And I took off running so he wouldn't get me. And I ran into nothing but old barbed wire that was where they used to have a pasture, I guess, and, kept the cows in. It was just stuck between two trees, and I ran right into it. And it cut me all up. So, yeah, I know what.
Like a no-rope barbed wire match almost.
Yeah, exactly. So I know what barbed wire feels like, and it wasn't good.
I figure, it ain't nice, man. Barbed wire is rough.
And I've actually stepped on barbed wire and got some stuck in my foot and couldn't walk for about 2 or 3 weeks. So.
Oh, man.
Yes,
You're hardcore.
Yep, I had to get a tetanus shot on that one. But yeah, we're gonna move on to our next match, which was the second match on the card. So far, this opened it up. I was not impressed with the first match. I'm not gonna lie. That first fatal four-way was not very good for me. But I will say this: we get into our second matchup of the night, which I'm just gonna go ahead and be honest with you on this as well.
It sucked.
It was terrible. The wrestling, everything was terrible. It was Devon Moore taking on Mouse. I was not impressed with this one.
Well, one thing is I've heard of Mouse, never seen him. Devon Moore. I think he worked like IWA Mid-South and stuff. Just you hear about the stuff that Devon Moore does in the locker room, like stealing money from people's wallets, and you don't want to even support the guy watching it. And the match was horrible. And that besides that.
Yeah, but I will say there was a couple of spots. The Death Valley Driver through the door. That was one of the spots through it. The S Driver through the door, and it only lasted for a few minutes, and that was a good thing, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. There's another one where they should have just cut the match completely and gave that time to one of the other matches. Because there's some good matches coming up, people. This whole show ain't crap matches. There actually is some really good matches coming up. There's one that might even be my match of the weekend.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a second. But, Mouse picked up the win. I was kind of surprised on this. I figured that Devon Moore would pick up the win. Because, Devon Moore, he's in the office here at H2o, if I'm not mistaken.
I did not know that. I know, he's been around for quite a while, like, CZ, the IWA and that stuff. A lot of the deathmatch feds, but I didn't know he was in the office at H2o. Yeah. Maybe he's cleaned himself up, because I heard, he was fighting his demons quite a few years ago, and that's when he had all the issues and stuff. So.
We can all change, and maybe he changed for the good, so I hope so. Well, Mouse picked up the win in that match, and we're going to go on to our next match, which this one, to me, I know these guys.
Yeah.
And that's Bam Sullivan and Kit Osbourn.
Yeah, this was the one. This is, to me, is where the show really got started. Because, last night, when the show aired, I told you, at first, I missed the first three matches. I thought it was airing a little bit later, so I didn't see. This is actually the last match of the show I saw. And this was really good. Thumbtack pits and light tubes match. And these guys just went out there. Not only did they do a lot of, deathmatch spots, but they were just stiff as shit with each other. It's like watching some 90s era, all Japan wrestling almost,
Yeah, did you see when old Kit spit in Bam Sullivan's face? Now, I've seen Bam. I had never really seen Kit. I'll take that back. I'd never really seen Kit, but I'll say that I enjoyed this match. I thought that we started getting into a good spot of the show with this match. I thought this match really was the first best match on the show.
And not only that, but also it flowed really well. Everything was paced out right. Like they do a spot, a good deathmatch spot, and then they'd wait a little bit before they do another one. Like spot after spot after spot. Like there's some kid playing SmackDown versus Raw when they drank too much Kool-Aid with sugar in it. It was really good.
Yeah, it really was, because they had a back and forth match. Then they brought the deathmatch stuff in, and I thought it was the way it went. My money was on Bam from the start, and that's who would pick up the win in this. But at the same time, they did the thumbtack spot, which Kit had thumbtacks on his back. Bam was busted wide open. And it was just, to me, and then the spear through the door that Kit did to Bam was unbelievable. But Bam did pick up the win. And at first, this, to me, right at this point in time, this was the match of the night, 3 matches in.
Yeah, I can see that. If I'd seen them in order, this would have been like, holy hell, this might be match of the night. And then, because Kit really surprised me. Last time I saw him, he wasn't as fast as he was in this, and he wasn't as, I guess, technically sound, I guess be the right word for it. He was more of a just pure deathmatch guy. Now he's picked up some skills here and there. Maybe he's working with, Matt Tremont and Devon Moore, if they're the ones running this H2o school.
Exactly. Well, Bam is, one of my guys. I like Bam, so I had to give him that. Very good match. This was the start of my night, really, with H2o. This was the start. Up next, we're going to have our match with Stockade and Raven Havok. Now, this is where I got confused. Raven Havok, okay, this kid looked like a cross between Raven and Jimmy Havok.
This kid looked like, when you're in high school, the little goth kid that's really into the drama club. That's what this kid looked like, which is what Jimmy Havok looks like. So, yeah, you're right.
And then you had Stockade come out, and, yeah, I honestly didn't think there was any doubt in mind that Stockade was going to pick up this victory.
Oh, yeah, Stockade's just a big old hoss.
But this was not a bad match.
It could have been better, but it was
Way
not
better.
bad because the spots were cool. Like, the cinder block spots were amazing. Some of the stuff they did, like when he put that one on top Havok and dove onto him, I thought, Stockade's going to crush both their chests. And the gusset plates were neat. I'm not a big gusset plate guy because it's like, oh, that just really hurts, but it didn't. It hurts in a way that doesn't show as bad as it should.
And you know me, I'm not the biggest deathmatch fan. Deathmatch wrestling's not my style. I'm more of an old school wrestling, but I watch all wrestling. And
yeah, I do too.
And the light bulbs, when he hit Jimmy, or I'm gonna keep trying to call this kid Jimmy Havok. Raven Havok across the back, man. These light bulbs just explode, do they not?
Oh man, yes. It was like an explosion of dust and glass particles, and there was blood everywhere. That was badass.
Now there's one video, or there's a picture that I got up right now that Stockade's hitting Raven Havok over the head with the light bulbs, and there's a glare in the background, and it looks like it's a ball of fire just busting out of the light bulbs as he hit him.
Can't wait to see that. I know what you're talking about now, but I can't wait to see that picture. That sounds badass.
And then the spot where you were talking about where he had the cinder block laying on Raven Havok and he did the senton bomb on him, that was that was a good spot too. I kept asking you though. We was texting back and forth, and I asked you about the this spots. Like, what are they going to do with the cinder blocks?
Yeah, I remember you're like, what the hell? I'm like, who knows, man. I'm wondering. I've heard there's a way to treat the cinder blocks or makes them a little more brittle. Maybe they do that. Like, it's kind of like how they used to use the bricks in Memphis. They take the bricks and bake it in the oven for about 30 minutes, make the brick a lot more brittle, so you can like hit somebody with it, wouldn't hurt them as much. Maybe you can do that with cinder blocks. I don't know.
Exactly, maybe so. And we want to credit Chris Gracio for these photos. This is his work. So.
Okay, cool. I know the name. That's one of those names I've heard of, in the fandom.
So, but Jimmy or Raven Havok, but Stockade does pick up the win, but didn't look like Raven Havok had much left in him either because dude was it was brutal, man. It was a real brutal brutal match.
It was a brutal bloodbath, man. It was badass. I mean, it really surprised me because Stockade, I know, could put on a good match. When I saw Raven Havok, I'm like, oh man, this dude's just going to get chunked out in 5 minutes. I didn't expect him to fight back as well as he did.
Yeah, he did. He put up a good match. That was what was surprising to me on that. But moving on to our next match, which was right after that, was the H2o Hybrid Championship. Now, this was one of my favorite matches, and I'm just going to say this. This was Jonny Nova taking on Lucky 13, which I thought
13.
This was a good match. I like Lucky 13. I think he's a really talented guy, and this was our first championship match of 3 of this night. So what was your thoughts on this match?
My match of the night. These two guys just went out there and beat the living hell out of each other. I don't remember there being much deathmatch stuff. It was just more like
really
a
wasn't.
It was like a strong style match almost.
And that's why this was my match of the night as well. I enjoyed this. I thought it was really great.
Before or no? I'd never even heard of Jonny Nova. Lucky 13 I'd heard of and just hadn't seen him as much.
Dude, I have not heard of either one of them, to be honest with you. I had never heard of either one of them. I mean, I may have heard of Lucky 13 in passing, just somebody mentioned his name, but I was very impressed with this match. This was a pure, like you said, strong style like wrestling match, and I really enjoyed it. And Lucky 13 came in as the H2o Hybrid Champion, and he left the H2o Hybrid Champion as he picked up the victory over Jonny Nova, which Jonny Nova really impressed me as well. But yeah,
both these guys, I'm gonna search for more matches of them because I'd love to see both. I'd love to see both these guys live. Take a Jonny Nova and put him out there against like a Barrett Brown or a JD Jenkins or something like that. Same thing with Lucky 13. I'd like to see these guys live.
Ditto, same here. I would love to see these two live, and I'd like to see them down here in the South as well. And that was so far, that was my match of the night. Moving up to it, I give Bam and then the second match of the night to this point.
Yeah.
Next up was the Street Fight Open Challenge for the H2o Tag Team Championships, and we got the Lone Rangers, and you made a comment when you saw the Lone Rangers come out, and you said, what about the Lone Rangers taking on the Black Rangers?
That would be interesting.
I think it would be too, but they didn't get the Black Rangers. They got Chris Bradley and Kristian Ross to come out, and wow, the Lone Rangers came out.
Yeah, they mentioned on commentary that the guys they face are like are mortal enemies that are tagging up just to get the belts. It's like, hey, you know, it's kind of a neat storyline.
That is, and this one got brutal. The paddle wrapped in barbed wire that Mitch, I think it was Mitch, that was raking it across Chris Bradley's head.
Yes. Oh my God. Like Jesus Christ, man. And, I was cringing a little bit, and it takes a lot to make me cringe. It's like, damn, you know.
Yeah, it was cringing. And then he just slaps him on the back with the paddle with the barbed wire on it. I wasn't really that impressed with this match. This one didn't do it for me. I thought it was okay. It was just a little long, in my opinion.
It was a little long, but it was a neat change pace. You know, we just had a good strong style match. They gave us another death match style thing, but it was not super heavy on the death match stuff. It felt like if you took like an old Memphis style Southern tag, open challenge tag, and threw some death match stuff into it. It was a neat hybrid. I'll give it that. It was a neat hybrid that could have cut 5 minutes from it, maybe give them 5 minutes to Lucky 13 and Jonny Nova and see what the hell they could add when they have 5 more minutes in their match, you know?
Exactly. Well, the Lone Rangers do defend their tag team championships and walk out as the H2o tag team champions. I didn't doubt that they would. You know,
one thing I wish they would have done though, when the Lone Rangers came out, they should have played that song from Airheads that the Lone Rangers play.
Yeah, that would have been good. But yeah, that was this was an okay match. It was not one of my favorites.
I'd say it'd be like a 2.5 to maybe 3-star match. You know,
yeah.
Average, a little bit below average. Worth watching, but don't go out of your way just to see it. You know. Right.
Well, up next was our main event. Now, I want you to, before we do get into this and talk about this match, it was a low life rules match for the H2o Heavyweight Championship, which the champion was Ron Mathis, and he was taking on low life Louie. Now, tell me something about low life Louie.
Okay, I remember when we were watching, I was like, man, I know this guy from somewhere. Low life Louie is the guy that faced Abby the Butcher when they brought Abdullah the Butcher in the Ring of Honor.
Oh, really?
Do you remember that? Remember they brought Abby in for like 1 or 2 shows along? Like I think it was when Feinstein still had Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it was 2002 or at the end of 2003, one of the two. It was between 2002 and 2003.
Yeah, it was Low Life Louie that was in there, and Low Life Louie has some kind of connection to homicide.
So that's how you got in here. And they were talking about this was like a 23 or 24-year odyssey for Low Life Louie when he came into this match.
Around the 90s, yeah.
Wow. Well, he came in, he had that rugged Brooklyn look on him, and he's taking on the H2o champion, Ron Mathis. And it was a match. It had a good thing. It started out real quick. It looked like Ron Mathis was just going to pick up the win real quick as he rolled up Low Life Louie, but it went on, and somehow, some way, Low Life Louie found his way to his first world title or heavyweight title, and he culminated from there.
Yeah, Ron Mathis, it just made Ron Mathis look like some kind of killer from like an 80s serial killer movie. He's got this look like he's got that look that Nick Gage has where you don't know if any minute he might just snap and start shanking your ass. It was great. It was really surprising. I've never seen Mathis before. And Low Life Louie, once somebody clued me into it, was okay, yeah, I have seen him before, but it's been a long time. Probably been 15, 16 years since I even thought about him. And he's also one of those guys that for years and years was always like in the bottom 100, the last few hundred of the PWI 500, So it's like, okay, that's why the name stuck in my memory.
Yeah, and he picked up the win, and man, he was crying in the middle of the ring. Him and Matt Tremont had come out too as well to, congratulate him. But he picks up the championship, and that was kind of how H2o ended. But what did you think of the main event? Give me your top 3 matches of the night, and we'll grade the show after that.
Okay, my top 3 matches. The bottom of the top 3. Number 3 would probably be, it's kind of a tie between Kit Osbourn and Van Sullivan and Stockade and Raven Havok. Even though I probably would go more for Osbourn because the matches flowed a little better. Best match of the night is Lucky 13 versus Jonny Nova, and my second place would be Mathis versus Low Life Louie. And it was more the story with Low Life Louie. He's been trying all these years to get him that belt, and he finally got the story of it really helped that match. There were some spots in there where you could tell they didn't do what they were wanting to do. These kind of messed up, but the story helped cover up, the negatives in the match.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Bam Sullivan versus Kit Osbourn is going to be my third match, the best match of the night. I enjoyed it. It was started out as my match of the night. As the night progressed, it fell further down. But I'm going to give it number 3. Number 2 is Low Life Louie versus Matthews. Ron Mathis. I'm sorry, Matthews. Ron Mathis. Okay. The reason I'm giving this the second match of the night is because of the feel-good moment, the nostalgia for Low Life Louie winning the H2o Heavyweight Championship, giving him that opportunity. So that's why I'm going to make that my second match of the night. My first match of the night, Jonny Nova versus Lucky 13 in the H2o Hybrid Championship match, which was, I thought, the best match of the night. You agree?
Yep.
And
oh, yeah, dude, that match was great. That match is one of those you can put on any indie card anywhere, and the fans, even if they didn't know the guys going in the match, by 5, 10 minutes in, the fans would be chanting and clapping and everything because they know how to work a crowd. It was really, really good.
And they, honestly, that could have been a main event on any independent company in the U.S., I promise.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I mean, I can see that being like the main event of the Battle Zone show or, BIW or maybe not SWA, because they don't really go for the newer stuff. Pretty much any other fed you can think of, SWE, whatever fed you can think of, that could have fit in anywhere because it wasn't a lot of blood. It wasn't a lot of, barbed wire and stuff. It was just a good, brutal match.
It really was, and I enjoyed it because it was, like we said, it was like the strong style, and I just enjoyed that match, and I thought that was my match of the night. So after we check all that out, what grade, A being the best, F being the worst, or F minus being the worst, A plus being the best, H2o Subterranean Violence, lucky number 7, what's your grade on it?
C plus. The Devon Moore-Mouse match in the opening 4-way drug it down a little bit, but C plus, worth watching, better than average, but, not a lot better than average.
I'm going to give you a C plus too. I thought it was good. I think the first 2 matches did drag it down. I thought the Jonny Nova match really lifted it a little bit more, and I just, if there'd have been one more match in there that wasn't deathmatch style, and I know this is deathmatch company type deal, but I mean, if there'd have been just one more strong style match, I could have moved it up to a B.
Oh, yeah, I could too. I could easily, or like if the tag match had been a little bit better, it could easily hit a B or a B minus. Yeah, I agree.
Well, so that's our final grade on it. Now, I want to remind you that coming up this Tuesday on King of Wrestling Podcast, we're going to have Barrett Brown, 50 caliber Barrett Brown, the King of Texas, will be on King of Wrestling Podcast. Friday, around the Indies, we're going to have Marvelous Monty Warbucks and J.D. Jenkins in a confrontation, and we're going to hear both sides of the story before their battle this coming Saturday in Braxton, Mississippi at the Jacob Shane Park Memorial Show this coming Saturday in Braxton, Mississippi. It's going to be a good one.
I'm going to be there, so I cannot wait.
And I will also be there. I'm part owner, so I guess I got to be there, right?
Yeah, I think you got to be there, man. I don't think you can skip out on this one, Brandon.
No.
You better have a good excuse if you're not there. You better be like missing a limb or, you got a kid on the way or something.
Exactly. We got this coming Saturday. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just get this out there. I know this is H2o review, but some of the listeners may need to want to hear this. Battles on Championship Wrestling is going to have Monty Warbucks, who is the BCW Capital City champion, taking on the full-time beast J.D. Jenkins in our main event. But also this coming Saturday, we're going to crown new tag team champions, and I'm going to go ahead and name out 3 of the teams because the 4th team is a mystery. The first team in this is Vladimir Koloff and MT2.
Needs more Koloff.
That's right. Needs more Koloff. I'm bringing him in and MT2 in to compete in this tag team championships. We're also going to have the Titans of Blackwater, Ursa Majors, and Nightmare Jeremiah teaming up again.
Oh, hell yeah.
They were going to try to become 2-time Battle Zone tag team champions. They'll be in there as well. And then our third team is going to be the Bama Boys of Frankie Thomas and Michael Parrish. They're going to come in. And then I got a mystery team coming in. And
this is the ding dong. You brought the ding dongs out of retirement, didn't you?
Yeah. Damn. How did you know?
Dude, I saw you posted on Friendster. You shouldn't be posting stuff like that on Friendster, sir.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. It will not be the Ding Dongs. I think we're going to bring in the Hunchbacks.
Oh, dude, the Hunchback's well, good thing that Frankie Thomas does the submissions because, you know, he ain't going to be able to pin them.
Exactly. Can't get them shoulders down on the ground. But yeah, I want to appreciate you coming on and doing this this H2o review of men. We're going to be doing more of this on the King of Wrestling Podcast YouTube page, and you can check us out, like I said, on all podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcast, and Pandora. And if you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, give us that 5-star rating and review. It helps us and it helps independent wrestling. But Ultimate Gallows, man, I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on, Brandon. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me know about the show. I didn't even know about it until you mentioned. It was a fun little evening of wrestling, man. 2 fun evenings of wrestling, actually.
Yeah, I did remind you about that, didn't I? And what about this one we got coming up? Hard hitting too. Who's this? Paradigm Wrestling?
Paradigm Pro. Yeah, that looks really good, man. It looks like it's gonna be kind of like shoot style, like, you know, Battle Arts or UWFI or something like that. Man, it looks really badass.
And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good one. And then we got Lucha Libre coming to IWTV. They're going to bring in one of the independent companies in Mexico onto IWTV as well. Starting Thursday night, they're going to have a little show.
And then also you got ICW No Holds Barred Deathmatch Circus coming up soon with Abby the Butcher. Yeah, that's going to be badass.
Yes, it is. And we're going to actually do a preview for that show as well as the Paradigm Pro show. We're going to do We're going to do preview shows and review shows on them. But we want to thank you for coming here and listening to H2o's Subterranean Violence review, and we hope you tune in for more. For me, this is Brandon Turner, the host with the most, and we got Ultimate Gallows. We'll see you on our next review.